and today I want to talk about Nana, but specifically Shoji's and Nana K's relationship. I want to have a very nuanced and adult conversation, okay? Because one thing about it, when we talk about Nana K and Shoji's relationship, at least I see on my For You page, Shoji's the devil, and Nana K just did nothing wrong. And now what I want to say first and foremost is that I do not condone his cheating, right? He should not have done that, right? But and also I won't say that Nana K's wrongs were as far or even on the same exact level as Shoji's cheating. No. Even though we could say Nana K had a very wandering eye, okay? And whether you people want to believe it or not, Nana K and Nana O clearly have a very homoerotic friendship, and she was definitely emotionally cheating. Okay? Point blank, period. Okay? Because if Shoji had a queer-coded guy roommate, male roommate, okay? And, the male roommate kissed Shoji, and Shoji just like, oh, shoot, I mean, it's a guy, so it kind of don't count. Sorry, Nana K. Okay. And again, they were right, like, they're saying the same things about each other that Nana K and Nana O are saying about each other, expressing their feelings in that way, saying, you know what, man, if you were a girl, you'd be my type for real. Y'all be like, oh, Nana K, your man like boys. Oh, he like boys, right? Right. But because it's a girl, there's two girls, a lot of people can't see it. But the ones who get it, get it. The ones who get it, get it. It's very clear. Painfully clear, actually. But anyway, with that being said, yes, Nana K was emotionally cheating. Some people won't even say emotionally cheating. They'll just call it cheating. And that's fine too, because that's valid. But I will say that, Nana K didn't necessarily go out of her way to be necessarily intentionally physical, because even when she that kiss from Nana O, it wasn't necessarily like Nana K went out of her way to kiss Nana O. Nana O kissed Nana K, and then she just never said anything about it. So she did withhold that information, yes. But then again, Nana K was just kind of be like, oh, well, it's a girl, so it doesn't count. When it's like, I mean, hey, everybody in relationships move differently, because I know me, I need to know who motherfucking lips are on your motherfucking lips if we in a motherfucking relationship. But hey, I digress. That's just me. But anyway, today I want to talk about with Shoji and Nana K about how they were both immature. Okay? Because remember, this is a coming of age story. We're watching people navigate life for the first time. They are going to fuck up. They're going to mess up. And they're going to make mistakes. They're not perfect. Nobody is perfect in the world, and nobody is perfect in this manga. And that's why I love reading Ayazawa's works, because she even said in an interview, she was like, I don't believe anybody is 100% bad or 100% good. This is why you have such complex, beautiful characters, because she understands nuance. She understands that nobody is 100% good or 100% bad in the real world or in this manga. So that's why you can have people who, people hate, but they may have redeeming qualities. And then people can love and they can still fuck up. That's why we have that. So with that being said, I like to point out how Shoji and Nana K are actually very similar. And even when they date, they make similar mistakes. And even when they came together at the very end, you see that they had that regret of like, damn, I didn't understand what I had until it was gone. So something that I want to go ahead and clear up before we really get into it is the fact that I saw on TikTok, somebody commented that they were like, oh, Shoji, he's a terrible person. He even threatened to grape. I'm going to say grape, okay? Because I know that we're not necessarily on TikTok no more, so, I won't get censored. But saying that word can probably trigger a lot of folks. So I'm going to say grape, since that's what I'm used to saying online. But somebody said, yeah, he even threatened to grape Nana K. Like, he's a terrible person on top of the fact he cheated, yada, yada, yada. Now, mind you, he definitely did cheat. Okay, and that's dead wrong. But one thing he did not do was seriously threaten to grape Nana K. And that's one thing that I've seen so much of, y'all, of like a lot of misinformation being spread around the fandom. And mind you, it's not even just this fandom. I see misinformation being spread over every fandom, which is unfortunate. But it all comes down to reading comprehension, lack of reading comprehension, lack of, critical thinking skills, You know, and just everybody comprehends things differently. It's crazy. Everybody interprets things differently, even though it could be right there. All you got to do is read. People can interpret things completely differently. And so we're going to talk about this scene real quick just to clear the air. Shoji never did that, okay? We actually see in the beginning of their friendship, right? He's having to kind of put her on game a lot. And that actually shows that she be caring, because, and this is one thing, another thing that I see with Shoji and Nana K, they did not have a relationship where he was a master manipulator. That's not something that Shoji was. He did cheat, yes, but he was not a master manipulator. Okay, I see that a lot. People say that a lot about Shoji. That's not what he was. If anything, he was very out frank and open about how he felt and what he was feeling. The only times we didn't see that was toward the end of their relationship, once it was already failing, right? And then Sachiko came into the picture, and then his feelings started to change and all that kind of stuff. That I will say, he should have been way more upfront. He should have just broke things off with Nana K as soon as he started to feel unappreciated, as soon as he started to see that, she ain't putting in the effort that I'm saying that I need her to put in, and she's not really, because it takes two, right? And that's ultimately what Juko was trying to tell her. And there was a point in time where they were on their date, and he was like, hey, like, maybe you should start putting in more effort too, because I'm the only one scheduling dates. When I schedule dates, you're leaving early to go be with Nana O and this, that, and the third. You're not inviting me over. Like, what's going on? And then she just completely ignored him. So it's just kind of like, as soon as you start to feel like that, and when you bring it up and your partner ignores you or dismisses you, it might be time to break it up. It might be time to break it off, right? But again, they're young. Everybody don't be having their boundaries set in stone the way they need to. People aren't always assertive right off the bat. These are things that you learn with time. This is what I call life's seasoning. You got to get seasoned. But anyway, this is the scene that they're talking about, right? Where they go to Tokyo with Junko and Kyosuke, because Junko wants to go, look around, so she's about to move out there. Kyosuke's going to be moving with her, this, that, and the third. And Nana K automatically was just like, oh, I'll just sleep in the room with you, Shoji. And Shoji just like, what are you thinking? And Nana K is just like, oh, don't worry. Like, there's two beds anyway, so I won't attack you. Like, haha, like, don't worry. You don't got to worry about me attacking you. And he's like, I mean, even if you're all right with it, I'm not. Like, he was like, I might attack you. And this is, I guess, where other people miscomprehended it. Like, was just like, oh, he's saying he's threatening to grape her, when that's not what's happening. He's actually putting her on game of being like, don't you know anything about guys? Like, he's just like, she's just like, oh, why? Right? And he's like, why? And she's just like, aren't we just friends? And he's just like, because guys are capable of doing things even though they're, not in love. They're capable of doing things even if love is not involved. And for Nana K, that was like a rude awakening, even though it was like deep down she knew this already. And as soon as he says this, we see the picture of like what's that guy named, the one that groomed her, Takashi, right? And some people may not. I've noticed when you say groom, that Takashi groomed her, you will come across people who are like, okay, we need to look at this from like the Japanese point of view of the fact that, technically she was of age, because the age of consent was 13 at the time and they just recently turned to 16 and blah, blah, blah. Whatever the case is, if you want to say that, you can say that. Then technically in Japan, she was of age, technically, I guess. But with me, I feel like age of consent and things like that it's going to end up being a game of morality, right? Because age of consent is a social construct. As you can see, a law can change what the age of consent is, right? But that doesn't change the children. That doesn't change the people. You're just changing the law. So the age of consent isn't necessarily a real thing. That's something that we create as a society, right? So imagine people being like, oh, well, it's okay because, age of consent was 13. But then imagine now age of consent is 16. So now if somebody messes with a 13-year-old in Japan, now it's a problem, right? Think about back in the day, okay? Look, I'm black, so I take it. We're going to take it there. Atlantic slave trade. Yeah. We was considered property. And that was okay. They did everything under the sun to us. But now that it's illegal, right? And now it's not deemed okay. Does that mean back when it was technically legal, everything was okay? Or is it going to go back to your morals? Exactly. It's going to come down to those morals, right? So I don't be going back and forth with people when they be like, well, technically he didn't groom her because he was, age of consent. That's a grown ass man. Okay? and he know that's a little ass girl. Okay, so like I said, it's gonna be a morals game, because one thing about it, if we out of nowhere change and actually, the one in office, yeah, the one in office is actually trying to change that right now. So if it's decided that, oh, the new age of consent is going to be 12 years old, and then you got 40-year-old men, 30-year-old men, 60-year-old men messing with these 12-year-olds, okay, is it wrong, or is it okay because the law says so? That's what I'm talking about. So that's my stance on is it Takashi grooming Nana K. He did groom her. He did. And I know some people are like, well, yeah, she knew that, he was older, and she knew that he had a wife and this, that, and the third, and she didn't care. Yes, but she's, what was she, 16? She's a kid. She dumb as hell. Frontal lobe not developed. She liked the attention. Like, you don't understand how wrong it is until you really get grown. You feel what I'm trying to say? Anyway, side note. But going back to what, we're talking about with Takashi, when, Shoji said that, that's when it really, like, had her feeling uneasy, because she was just like, damn, like, again, making her think, did this dude ever even love me for real? Did he even care about me? Because now I'm again, it's being reiterated that men can do things without, feeling love for you. They don't have to be in love with you. And this is what I'm talking about. Frontal lobe not developed. Young and dumb. Don't know nothing. Because she doesn't even understand that for real. Because again, she was so young dealing with this dude, dealing with Takashi, or Takashi, whatever how you say his name. She thinks that he must love me. Like, look at the things that we're doing. Look at the attention he's giving me. Mind you, Nana K was boy crazy, right? So now this grown man at that, giving her the time of day, even though he was just picking her up a couple times a month, taking her to a hotel room. But to her, she was like, oh my gosh, like, he must love me. And now to, being a little bit older, and then hearing another guy be like, oh yeah, no, like, you could definitely do stuff without being in love. Like, hello? Do you know how men work? And I know in her head, she probably like, well, damn. No, I guess I don't know how men work, actually. But she says, she's like, I do know such things. Like, I understand that guys can do stuff without being in love. But I just thought, I thought you wouldn't be that sort of guy. Junko guaranteed that you're a good guy. And he's trying to tell her, it doesn't matter what somebody says about you. You can still, get in a situation, an unfavorable situation, if you just willy-nilly sleeping in the same room as men. And so then she starts crying, and he's like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Like, what's going on? But, she's like, because I really do love you, Shoji, and I never thought you would say such things. But again, he's keeping it real. This might hurt her feelings because she's trying to put him in this box. She's trying to put him kind of like on this pedestal, kind of paralleling Nobu, of trying to put him on this pedestal if he could do no wrong. Right? He's a friend, and that means friends cannot do any wrong. He's a friend, so therefore I'm taking him out of the category of being a man. Remember, Junko was trying to tell her, you need to start looking at men as people, as human beings, and not just as like love interests and people that you have sexual transactions with and romantic transactions with. Look at them as multi-layered human beings. And although she's trying to do this with Shoji, all she really did was put him in a box of being a friend, and a friend that can kind of like do no wrong. Because what a friend is like Junko. And we see this when she's like, being with you kind of feels like being with Junko. And we see that because Junko has Kyosuke now, she's been going on dates, and, she hasn't had all her free time to go with, Nana K. And so now she's kind of trying to put Shoji in like as a placeholder for Junko. And again, so now she has kind of like put Shoji, who is a man, in this placeholder and in this lane of a friend. And so instead of Junko being there, she's put Shoji there, but she's completely, kind of dismissed or ignoring the fact that he's a man and everything that what men come with or could come with. Because then we see her as being like, I prefer to look at you as another human being rather than something masculine. Okay, See, this is what I'm talking about. We see Nana K is trying. We see that she's trying something different. She's not jumping right into looking at them like, oh, googly eyes. Oh, this is my next, this is my next fling, my next relationship, whatever. But you're not hitting the mark, because he is a human being and he is also masculine. Instead of her being like, okay, no, I'm going to put you in the lane of a friend and you're a human being instead of a man. No, he's a man who is also your friend. So yes, he is going to be masculine. You have to also think about that while you're being friends with him. You got to take that in consideration, because he's not Junko. He's not another girl. He's not just, you can't just strip him his manhood away from him just because you're trying to put him in the role of a friend. Does that make sense? So with that being said, you have to understand, what does Nana K attach with manhood or masculinity? And so when she starts putting these two things together, she's like, okay, but Shoji is also male, so it might be dangerous to sleep in the same room as him. And he's like, well, yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. So anyway, hopefully this cleared up that whole scene of like, oh, Shoji threatened to rape Nana K. It's like, no, he didn't. He's just trying to put her on game. Okay? And again, people be like, oh, he's just a master manipulator, this and the third. He's a predator. What? A predator? I'm telling you, y'all, I've heard such crazy things. I've heard that Nobu tried to force himself on Nana K, which that wasn't the truth. I've heard that Shoji tried to do the same thing, which that wasn't the truth. The only person that we see that with in this manga, we see Takashi grooming Nana K, and then we also see Takumi forcing himself on Nana K twice. Okay, so anybody other than that they didn't do that. Okay, we have to stop spreading misinformation. Okay, but I wanted to start off with that because, again, that shows the level of maturity here. Okay, that shows the level of maturity. That shows, the level of understanding of how to, have a friendship with another person that Nana K has. And this also shows Shoji's character. This is what I'm saying. I don't understand. I'm like, look, y'all can hate him because he cheated all you want. I get it. I know some people probably reading it probably got cheated on. That's probably a wound that you could never heal from. I don't know. But what I will say is that we can't act like he's just the worst person in the world. Because in this moment, he could have been like, oh yeah, like, yeah, you know what? Because we're such good friends, let's sleep in the same bed together. Like, wouldn't that be fun? We're friends, right? It doesn't, like, he could have did something to her. He could have. If he was such a mass manipulator, he could have, but he didn't. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, he's actually putting her on game. And Shoji's actually known for doing that with Nana K, right? Because it's like another time he was putting her on game, or just, again, trying to tell her, hey, this doesn't sound like a good idea. You probably shouldn't be doing this. Like, for example, the time where, they're walking around Tokyo, and now Shoji's like, you know what? I think I'm actually going to go and apply for art school out in Tokyo as well. And at this point, now that means Junko, Kyosuke, and Shoji are now going to be in Tokyo, and that leaves Nana K. And so, and at this point, she's trying to find any way or reason to get out there, to be there with them. But Shoji is hearing her, and he's like, you're not going to be putting yourself in a good financial spot. You're just literally doing it just to be around us instead of really actually doing what's best for you. And he's like, it's been 4 months. Wouldn't it be best for you to apply to a local art school? Right? Like something local instead of you trying to go out to Tokyo with us and go to school. She's like, no, but I really want to go. And mind you, she only really wants to go because of her friends, compared to like if she really wanted to go because she really wanted to, go to school. And it's just a little bit different. But this is not a crime to want to be with your friends. It's not a crime. But again, it's not a smart situation when you're doing it on a whim and you're just doing it to be with your friends, and you're not gonna be in a good situation where you may end up homeless. That's when it's a problem, right? And if nobody else is speaking any sense into her, now Shoji's just like, what are we doing, bro? He's like, look, I think it's smarter, it would be a lot better if you studied at your local college. And she's like, no way. And he's like, is she really that attached to Junko? Like, what is going on? But Nana K's like, but Shoji will be there too, right? Like, again, for her, she's just like, I don't want to be alone. That's one of Nana K's biggest fears, is being alone. She even says that in the manga. And since Shoji's being like, I think I'll do a foundational school out here, and then I'll go ahead and, try to get into a university out there, and I'll transfer. And she's like, okay, well, bet then I'll live out there too, and I'll just use my allowance and, make ends meet. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's impossible. Like, what do you mean you're going to use your allowance to make ends meet? Like, you need to make a living. And really pay attention to the dialogue, right? Because it's like, this is in the beginning, very beginning of the manga. This is Ayazawa showing us the dynamic between Nana K and the people around her, right? Because this conversation reminds me of the conversations that she has with Junko, where she has to be told what's right from wrong. Although she's the same age as the people around her, she has to be told what's right from wrong. She has to be told, hey, this is obviously not a good idea. Hey, do you know how men are? Do you know how men work? This is not smart. You can get hurt. Hello, what's going on, right? And this is not saying that everybody around her knows, everything that's right from wrong and they're perfect. Absolutely not. But I'm saying you can see the difference in the dynamic. And this is Ayazawa painting that dynamic for us to make it very clear how she operates within her friend group. And so again, I'm like, are y'all reading the dialogue? Because for people to be like, oh, Shoji's predatory, Shoji's a master manipulator. I'm like, no, if he was a master manipulator or he's predatory and she's talking about she's going to go out there and he knows that she's not going to really have money like that or a place to stay or anything like that, immediately he'll probably be like, oh yeah, I mean, like, I could house you. Or, oh yeah, you should go out there. Yeah, why not? We're all going to go out there too. Like, what? You see what I'm trying to say? Like, not giving a damn about her. But actually he's being like, no, this isn't a good idea. You should probably just stay here locally. You have your family, you have your allowance. Like, that's the smartest thing to do for you. Because remember, they were actually friends. They have feelings for each other. Yes, Shoji and Nana K both have feelings for each other, but they were actually friends first. And so you can genuinely see that Shoji cared about Nana K also as a friend. Yes, they had underlying feelings, but he's just like, hey girl, like, what the hell are you doing? So he kind of like starts questioning her, like, okay, like, and where will you get the money for rent? Right? You only have, a few 100,000 yen, right? You're not a kid anymore. Who does this sound like? He sounds like Junko. And everybody gets mad at Junko, but it's just like, and they're like, oh, but she's being mean. But it's just like, as we can see, Ayazawa is painting the dynamic for us that Nana K has to be spoken to like this for it to compute. Does it come off seeming like harsh? Yes, of course, it's always going to come off harsh because she's hearing something that she does not want to hear. Right now, what she would want to hear is to have somebody say, yeah, girl, yes, queen, go ahead, do what you want. Like, you a girl, like, do what you want to do. And being a quote-unquote girl's girl. Don't get me started on this obsession with being a quote-unquote girl's girl, okay? And supporting women's wrongs as well as their rights. I'm like, look, at that point, y'all doing exactly what y'all say y'all hate what men do. Supporting other men's wrongs just because they're men. What sense does that make? At that point, you're not a girl's girl, you're just an enabler. At that point, right? You validate, you support those rights, but you hold them accountable and you criticize those wrongs. Hello? How are they supposed to become better people? Anyway, yeah, that's what she would want to hear in this moment. Like, yeah, you do what you want to do. Like, it'll be fun, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, you need people who genuinely care about you to ask you these questions so that you don't go and do stupid stuff, right? Because it is true. You should know better. You're not a kid anymore. We're all the same age. And that's another thing. Like, when people, I always do bring up their ages because they are young and dumb, right? But sometimes people like to forget that Nana K is the same age as the people around her. So when, they bring up age when they're talking about, Nana K's wrongs or her mistakes and things like that. But then when we talk about her in contrast or her compared to the people around her, and when she's making these mistakes, they don't like to give other people grace as like how they give her grace. And it's just like, well, why not? They're all young too. And what about in these moments where it's just like, this is common sense? What's not computing? I know you want to be with your friends, but it's just not common sense to put yourself in this predicament just to be with your friends when you can end up homeless. And that's why it's frustrating. It could get frustrating. And we're even seeing Shoji right now get frustrated. And so then that's why we have to sometimes give people grace because they're grown. They're like 19, 20. And you have a friend that's potentially putting herself in danger because she's going off of her emotions, or I don't want to be around my friends. I want to be around but it's just like, we're not kids anymore. You can end up in a really bad spot. But because we care about you, we're going to these lengths, right? We're going to these lengths to actually try to get it through your head that you should not be doing this. And he's trying to tell her different ways to go about it, where like, okay, how about you go to a local school and then you do this? How about you do this person, then you do this? Instead of like, he's not just shutting it down, but he's trying to give her different options. She's like, no, I need to go now. I need to be with you guys. But he's like, it's not the end of the world. You're not gonna die. Like it's what are we doing? And he's giving her options of like, okay, smart options of like, price efficient, staying home where your support system is, your family, just in case anything happens, they can give you allowance, whatever the case is. But she's trying to just go out there and then figure it out there, as if everything's going to just be okay. Like, you don't have any plan. She's like, well, I'll just go out there and I'll take lessons at the technical institute. And, maybe my parents will be willing to sponsor me. And he's just like, what the heck? Like, he's like, you just go to a technical institute just for that? What happened to art school? So and also this is a conversation where Shoji's seeing that, Nana K, because she's, centering other people's dreams, centering other people and not herself, she's just willing to morph and change everything to be around her friends and to not be alone. And he's just like, what is going on? Like, you shouldn't be making these big decisions like that just because of what we got going on. Like, you're gonna do all of this and go through all that trouble just to do that? Like, what is going on? And she's like, well, then what should I do? And he's like, I said to go home. Hello? And she's like, well, wouldn't you be lonely if you couldn't see me? And he's like, no, I wouldn't be lonely. In fact, I'd be relieved. And he's like, what am I to you? Right? Like, he's like, you think it's fun to cry your eyes out and spit some thoughtless crap and expect people to feel sorry for you. He said, your end goal is simply to have some nice guy who can be with you every second. Am I right? He was like, what is this guy-girl kind of friendship? He was like, don't make me laugh. And now, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually enjoyed this scene a lot. Not because, I'm a Nana K hater. No. But because it needed to be said. It needed to be said. Because, like I said, she was literally trying to replace Junko with Shoji. She said it before. She was like, can I call you Shojun? Can I just call you Shojun? And he was like, please don't call me that. like she was like, yeah, feeling like being with you feels like how I am with Junko. Like, okay, this is nice. Like, cool. And he was just like, what am I to you? Like, am I just a placeholder? Like, I guess I'm a placeholder for her after all. That's not how you actually make a friend. That's a guy. Like, who just happens to be a guy. That's not how you do that, by replacing them. But as I've said before, Nana K, she usually has to like put one main person in her center, even if it's for a short amount of time, right? So it's like, okay, Junko was like her main friend, right? And main friend in the sense of like, and not saying best friend, because for Junko, Shoji and Nana K, Shoji and Nana K, she says, are on the same level. But I'm talking about Nana K. She centers people, all right? So even though in the beginning of the manga we see her being like super boy crazy and like, again, she's just wanting to be picked and this, that, and the third, her friend that she spends that time with, right, while she's talking about guys and, getting that advice and all that kind of stuff, getting lectured, whatever, is Junko, right? So now with Junko being like leaving, she needs somebody else. And that person, and now since Junko and Kyosuke, they be having their little time, now that person left is Shoji. And because this is the first time she's trying to look at, men as like human beings, but she's trying to dismiss their manhood and not look at them as males. So instead of really looking at them as full human beings, multi-layer human beings, she is now looking at Shoji just as a friend that is not a man necessarily. That's why she was just like, I'm trying to look at you as a human being and not something masculine. And it's just like, okay, that doesn't make sense. And you're dismissing the fact that I'm a man now. So now that is a whole extra layer to me. Those are actual multiple layers to me because you're not looking at me as a man. And so this is not going to work. This wasn't going to work regardless. I don't think they were even going to be able to be friends long term because they both have these feelings, and Nana K wants to just have somebody to always be there for her so she doesn't be alone, but then that's also not taking his feelings into consideration as well. So regardless, he would have ended up feeling, and this is why I said they should have never got together, but you live and you learn. But regardless, in their friendship, he would have felt dismissed, he would have felt like a placeholder, and he would have felt not appreciated. Simple. It would have happened anyway. The same thing that happened with their relationship, it was gonna happen regardless. In the sense of like, him not feeling like she's putting in any effort, him not feeling appreciated, her not giving him the time of day as soon as she sent to somebody else, that was going to happen regardless. We're seeing it here. Ayazawa is showing us how that dynamic was going to be regardless because of how Nana K operates. And it's not necessarily a crime, but it's just, again, kind of like you live and you learn. Like, this needed to happen so that they can both reflect and be like, damn, I could have moved different. And I say them both because they both make mistakes, right? Like, and you, as you grow, you understand that some situations just had to happen in order for you to really learn. Like, some lessons you require life experience. And I think, again, the both of them needed this to happen so that they can learn from it and move completely differently. And so again, after that, that's when he leaves, and he should never left. You don't leave no girl in the middle of the damn city at night in a city that y'all do not know. Come on now, don't piss me off. But I enjoy this scene because again, it's just like, again, who is going to teach her these things? Who's going to tell her these things? I mean, we have Junko, but when Junko's not around, who's going to do it? So it's like, and then people hate the people around her for putting her on game and telling her, and they think that, oh, well, there's a better way of doing it. But as you can see, the times that she learns the most is when things get heated. If you really look through the manga, it's when things get heated. It's when shit hits the fan. Even with Nana O, when she, was like, oh, can you wait for Shoji for me outside the diner? But, she tried to do it in a different way. And Nana O was like, look, you ain't got to do all that emotional manipulation shit. Just tell me what you need from me and I got you. And then she felt real bad after that. Like, Nana K was like, damn. But she's right. I do emotionally manipulate people to get them to feel sorry for me. But again, it's like people have to check her like that in order for it to compute. Like that is just kind of how it works with Nana K, sadly. And again, this is Ayazawa showing that, like, hey, this is the dynamic with this person. This is how they, compute information. It is what it is. Now, some people are just not going to like that regardless. They're just like, oh, well, I just don't like the tone. I just don't like the timing. I just don't like the this, that, the third. And that's fine. But again, for this character, that is how they learn. Unfortunately, they learn from life experience and not just from word of mouth. Like, it has to be in the moment type shit. Like, unfortunately. But I am glad Junko chewed his ass out a little bit when he got back to the hotel without Nana, because it's like, what the hell you doing without her? Like, what you doing? What you mean her ass is still out there? Like, what the hell? And I also wanted to point out the fact that Junko did tell him that she had a crush on him. And at first he didn't believe her because, again, to him, Nana K kept just putting him in a box in the friend zone and trying to use him as a Junko replacement. But then we see Kyosuke. Kyosuke calls up Nana K, finds out that she got her phone. And he's like, oh yeah, Shoji's in love with you. Okay, can we not use big ass words? Like, do we know what in love is, Kyosuke? Can we not do that? I think he should at least use the word crush. Cause damn. And that's another thing. Kyosuke don't know who he's talking to. He don't know who Nana K is. He don't know how boy crazy she can be, how love crazy she can be, the void that she's trying to fill desperately, to be telling her that this man is in love with her. Please, Kyosuke. That actually made me mad, because it's just like, what the hell? Why can't you just say you got a crush? But again, she's like, no way, you're lying. Like, no way. Especially after what he just said to me, no way. But anyway, after that, that's when, she's just like, look, ever since I first saw him, it was, for her, it was love at first sight. Like, she was like, oh my God. Like, again, it was just like that cycle. As soon as she sees somebody attractive to her, she's like, boom, like, I gotta have them. We gotta be together. And then she's changing herself in any type of way, shape, or form in order to make herself more appealing to that person so that she can get picked by that person and they can be together. But she does also say that, on top of Junko saying that, hey, maybe you should slow things down, actually get to know people and look at these men as people and not just, partners, romantic partners. But then also we're seeing that this is also after the whole Takashi situation, where she also was hurt because of that situation. He kind of just dropped her and moved to Tokyo. And so she was also still carrying, she's carrying that hurt from Takashi to the whole manga, basically. But it's still very fresh, right? And so she's letting us know that, although she did have these feelings for Shoji, she was also scared of being hurt again. And she was afraid that, if they touched, the wound would get bigger. And she's like, I want to find happiness in a relationship, but everybody thinks that, guys are hard to trust. But she's like, but Shoji's different. And I may be wrong about that, but it just feels different. She's like, he gently healed my broken heart, right? Like, she's like, I feel right now, I want him to hold me tight. And then that's when, they run into each other and then he apologizes, whatever the case is. So then they go back to the hotel and Junko's like, welcome back. And she kind of like gives Nana K her stuff and she's like, hey, like, they can go in the room together. At this point, it's everybody knows, okay, Shoji likes Nana likes Shoji. They just got into it, but again, they both like each other. So I guess Junko and Kyosuke is like, look, figure it out. And brief foreshadowing here, the hotel room is 707. I thought that was funny. And she's just like, the room number is 707. Please let nothing bad happen. Because she's thinking about, like, the demon lord. She's thinking about bad luck. He's like, are you talking to yourself? She's like, no, I'm talking to the devil. He's like, okay, that's creepy as hell. And it's funny because it's like, again, going about, like, talking about manifestation, the power of the tongue, law of attraction. I feel like Ayazawa keeps sprinkling things in here about Nana K, and not just Nana K, but other people even speaking negativity on their lives, attracting exactly what they're asking for, whether that is necessarily good or not. Like how Nana K literally attracted Takumi, how Nana O even attracted Takumi for her, how Nana O had told Rin to die, and of course she didn't mean to actually die, but, like, you get me what I'm trying to say. How Nobu, it seemed like Nobu's spiritually inclined, of, like, him being able to tell when hear something, and it ended up being he's like, I'm gonna go see what Nana O is doing, and her grandma ended up passing away, and even at the very end when Rin passes away, Nobu hears Rin's guitar. And he's just like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? But really, it was Rin. I don't know if it was supposed to be like Rin trying to say goodbye. I don't know. But only Nobu was able to hear it. So we see that a lot. We even see Nana K low-key, like, manifest Sachiko getting with not Nobu, Shoji. Because before Shoji even meets Sachiko, she keeps saying, oh, you're gonna leave me with this girl Sachiko, and this, that, you're probably out doing stuff with Sachiko. He don't know who Sachiko is until later on. So I'm like, what is Ayazawa trying to say? Is she trying to sprinkle in that manifestation? But it's funny because 707 is the number of the apartment that her and Nana O are going to get together. And also the fact she's like, oh, I just hope nothing bad happens tonight, or, nothing bad is about to happen. And for some people, they think, hey, what's about to happen in this room with you and Shoji is a bad thing because he's going to end up cheating on you, this, that, and the third, whatever the case is. Some might say, hey, it's actually a catalyst for a lot of good things that are going to happen, because ultimately her and Shoji, hooking up this night, and then it becoming like a long distance relationship is the reason that she ends up, that's her tie, and that's her excuse for going out to Tokyo. She uses him, right, and their feelings for each other as a reason to go to Tokyo. Because even the last conversation, seeing that, Junko and Shoji and them going out there to school, and you just wanting not to be alone, is not a good enough excuse, because you're putting yourself in a bad situation. But now you got a relationship, and that's different. Now we got feelings for each other. Now, if you get your stuff together, then yeah, I'll wait for you. Like, you can meet me out there. That'll be cool. So ultimately, this night and this relationship is the catalyst for everything that else is about to happen in this manga. And if she didn't get with Shoji, and they ended up just all going to school and just leaving, she probably would have never met Nanao. She probably would have never went to Tokyo. And it probably, like, nothing would have ever happened. So I just thought it was funny that we have 707 as the room number of this hotel that Nana K and Shoji share, which is and what happens in that room is the catalyst for everything else that's about to happen in the manga. At least on Nana K's end. Now, if you know me, I do not like the way Shoji and Nana K got together. I mean, it should have just been a hookup and call it that. I do not think it should have blossomed into a whole relationship, but at the same time, things are going to happen. Like, I really do feel like it should have just been a hookup. I just don't like how it happened. It just wasn't cute to me. But it makes sense for these two people and how they are and the dynamic, and just how immature they are for this to go the way that it did. Because at this point now they're going to share the room, right? Now, again, things are a little bit awkward because now they both know that they like each other. And they had that, big dispute earlier. And now it's like, okay, what we finna say? And she's like, I do want to look cute in front of the guy that I'm in love with. But, I don't know if that can happen now because Shoji has seen all the nasty things about me. Now, remember, Nana K is really big about putting up that facade. And now she feels that Shoji has seen the nasty side of her. And we see nasty side as if, nasty side meaning like, the side that will just do whatever it takes. Because we got to look at the side that we're talking about, right? Or the side that he's seen earlier in the manga is that, a sign that gets angry or gets upset when, she can't have her way. Think about when Junko was like, I'm going to go to school But yeah, take when Junko was saying that she was going to go to school out in Tokyo, and Nana K threw a fit, and she was kind of making it about herself, and then Junko had to get her together real quick and be like, girl, this is not about you, this is about me. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do, whether you like it or not, no matter what anybody says, right? But we also see he also has seen her kind of like put him as a placeholder, and be selfish, and kind of just use him to not make her feel lonely. He's also seen her again kind of like be irrational just to get what she wants, and so she won't be alone. Like, he's seen these sides of her. Again, these aren't necessarily the worst things in the world necessarily. She's a selfish person, and she said that she's a selfish person. So he's seen that side of her, though. He's seen that selfish side. And she's also seen how it can push him to the edge of getting pissed off. And so we see that, okay, here goes somebody who she's kind of like shown that side of herself with. And also, even before they had that dispute, she was actually just friends. So she was able to just be her, fun, wild little side. Even think about the time when they first all hung out and they were drinking and she got drunk and she was just let it all loose. She was telling all her little stories and talking about all the guys she done fell for and all that kind of stuff, right? She was able to really just let her hair down. And Shoji accepted her. Now, take this and think about later on with her having her facade up, thinking that nobody's going to accept her for who she is, and not giving people the chance, right? This is somebody who she gave the chance to see her true self and the parts of her that she feels that are ugly. And he's accepting her. And he's actually saying, like, no, I still like you, right? He's like, I really do want you to stay in Tokyo. But he's letting her know, look, though, like, I'm not a working man. Like, basically saying, I ain't got no money. Dun, dun, dun. I ain't got no money in my bank account. I don't even know if y'all even know that song. Do y'all even know that song? Anyway, he pulling an Alexander Hamilton, letting her know, look, I'm broke. Okay? I can love you, but I'm broke. And that's okay. If she okay with it, and he okay with it, it's cool. But he's like letting her know, like, I'm going to try to get into university, but, I'm no better than, what do you say, a Ronin? Like, he's letting her know, like, I ain't really nothing right now. I can't really provide for you. I can't do all that extra extravagant stuff that I would want to do, right? But I won't really be able to help you and provide for you the way that you deserve. So it's going to be tough with a guy like me, and you should understand that. I'm letting you know now. And this is important to note because he's letting her know up front, look, I ain't got no money. I can't do this. I can't do that. And for people who are like, oh, he's a master manipulator. All he did was manipulate her. I'm like, no, not really. He never tried to be anybody who he wasn't. And I'm talking about before Sachiko. And before Nana O. Look. Let's talk about it. No, I'm going to try to stay on topic. But I always hear people talking about Shoji and Sachiko. Shoji and I don't know why I be getting it tongue tied. Shoji and Sachiko. Ho. But I don't never hear people putting Shoji and what the fuck? Shoji and Sachiko, damn it. Nobody ever mentions Nana K and Nana O's relationship too. Yeah, they wasn't having sex and doing this and doing that, but it was a very homoerotic friendship, and it was taking up all of Nana K's time. And this was done by choice, okay, on Nana K's part. She was leaving dates early. She wasn't inviting Shoji over, okay. She wasn't planning dates or anything like that to the point where Shoji was like, "Hey, maybe you should start putting in effort too. Why is it always on me?" Okay, so we can't just be like, oh, Sachiko and Shoji. Let's also remember Nana K started centering Nana O and Blast, but specifically Nana O. Okay, those two people, Sachiko and Nana O, changed Shoji and Nana K. Okay, and we will say Nana O changed Nana K first because she came on the scene first. And this is not necessarily Nana O's intention, but this is by how Nana K operates. She centers people. And that's not the misconception. People be like, oh, Shoji got upset as soon as he was asking her to be independent. As soon as she got independent, he had a problem. No, we do not get an independent Nana K. We do not get an independent Nana K the whole manga. I actually would love to see how she truly is when she's independent and not focused on somebody else and not centering somebody else. Even at the end of the manga, post time skip. She's still centering finding Nana O. She's saying she cannot move on with her life until she finds her, until they're reunited. We still don't even get to see, even as a mama, her being truly independent. And independent in the sense of like, not centering. I would have loved to see that, even if she didn't know if Nana O was, alive in this, and the third, she's doing her own thing. She's centering herself. She's okay without her. She has moved on without her. I know that would still be hard. That would be tough. But even though she can have a place in your heart, she will always have a place in your heart. It shouldn't be like, oh, I can't move on until I find her. Why not? Why not? You have to, you have a told child, I need you to move on. But it makes sense because of all those romantic feelings there. Okay? It wasn't just no friendship. You can't have the friendship. You can't, let's be real. Some people be like, oh, friendship is so underrated nowadays. Everybody's trying to make people couple up. I do agree that people be trying to ship anybody together. I do agree. But with Ayazawa, honey, have you read some of those interviews? Okay? Yeah. Okay? Have you read the letters that Nana O and Nana K was writing to each other? You read the fact that Nana O admitted to Rin that she had these feelings for Nana K? She said, no, it's not sexual. It's not like I just want to sleep with Nana. It's something else and it's strong and I'm trying to put it down. She said, I feel like a teenage boy falling in love. Nana K said, when I'm with Nana O, it feels like I'm falling in love. So please, platonic where? Okay? Homoerotic is here. Alright? Anyway. So yeah, it's gonna be different rather than just losing a friend or even losing a best friend. It's like losing your first. If you are a hetero, what would I say? Even if some people say, oh, they're comfet. What is that? Compulsive heterosexuality or whatever the case is. Even if you consider yourself a heterosexual, we all know that Nana O has been queer coded from the beginning. That was done on purpose. But if you never been in love with a girl and then you fell in love with a girl and then now, and that's like, it was just such an intense, even unhealthy type situation, but it was those intense feelings, and then now next thing you know, you think she dead, and then but you have a feeling she's alive, and then now you see that she alive. Now you're like, okay, we got to be reunited. I can see why she feels, Nana K specifically, I can see why she can't move on. But I would love to have gotten an independent version, a version of Nana K that loves herself, a version of Nana K that isn't censoring anybody else, a version of Nana K that understands that she deserves to be happy. So she doesn't have to self-sabotage, honey. You don't got to keep making these crazy or dumb decisions. You don't got to keep putting yourself in these situations either, because you deserve to be happy. You don't got to fuck it up. You don't gotta do stuff for the plot either. It's okay. We've seen enough. I would have loved to see that. We don't get to see an independent version of Nana K this whole manga. So that's not what happened. What actually happened is that Nana K centered somebody else. That's what happened. Because you should be able to still have a functional, healthy relationship if you were actually independent. But what happened instead? Nana K centered Nana O. And Blast, but specifically Nana O, to where she started to put Shoji and her relationship with Shoji on the back burner. That is what happened. That's why he was upset. And I don't see how people don't see that. They're like, she started to do her own thing independent. No. Just because she got a job, even though she was being real irresponsible with her money, to where she over here begging her friends for money at this point, asking Shoji to sell his computer that he uses for school. Okay? Because she over here spending all her money. So she's not being responsible, even though she got the job. But what I will say is, it wasn't the job. It wasn't the job. It was the fact that she centered somebody else. That is what that was. And if Shoji did that, I'm telling y'all, if Shoji had a queer-coded roommate who was a man, and Shoji out of nowhere started spending all his time with the friend, started canceling dates on Nana K, started, putting him and Nana K on the back burner. And then Nana K was just like, hey, I think you should put in more effort. Why is it always on me? And he just completely dismissed her and ignored her. Y'all would say he wasn't shit. But that's exactly what Nana K did. And that's exactly why I be saying they both played a part in the deterioration of their relationship. Because it wasn't just Shoji with Sachiko. It was also Nana K with Nana O. On top of just Nana K's, how she acted even before the relationship, just that selfishness, it carried on into their relationship. The selfishness from the friendship carried on into the relationship, because that's a part of her that she has. That's a part of her that she considers ugly, that selfishness. And I will say, just in general, it is ugly. But she ain't the only one that's selfish in this manga. We see other people being selfish too. And again, I think that's just one of those things that it could be definitely a character flaw. It could be something that's just like, hey, this is what this character does. Even later on in life, they might still do it. We don't get to see her too much post-time skip. But we don't get to see her it doesn't seem like she's showing too many selfish traits. We only see so much. But, you know, she does seem to hang on to, like, the notion of, you know, wanting to be with Nana O. And, I don't know. Still using Nobu as a placeholder. Like, she doesn't seem like she's changed entirely, right? But she ain't the only one who ain't changed entirely either. But yeah, like I said, I feel like if Shoji was doing exactly what Nana K was, or even if the roles were just reversed from the beginning, even if Nana K would be the one to cheat on him with somebody else, and he was acting just like how Nana K was acting, I feel like y'all would be able to clock her behavior if it was being done by him. We have to clock it off. Let's just hold them up to the same regard. And this is not me saying, no, let's put her actions on the same regard as his cheating. No, I'm saying even before the cheating, there was red flags. So let's just call them all out. But anyway, with her, her kind of like, smiling and being like, like, okay, well, I'm cool with that. I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I have feelings for you. You have feelings for me. All right, cool. And also not being him not being predatory. These are two consensual adults. All right. Two consensual adults. Let's just clear that up. All right. Now he's like, okay, well, cool. Like, now that we cool, maybe we can finally, start sleeping together every here and there. And she's just like, what are you talking about? She like, in her head, she like, he talking about every once in a while. We haven't even kissed yet. And he's like, if you don't want to, like, it's okay. But I'll just endure and get used to it. And she's like, that's a really funny way to set the mood. Because, for her, she's like, at least butter me up or something. He's like, fine then. And again, he's thinking that that's like a no. And she's like, well, hey, don't jump to your own conclusion. Like, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, like, you just not setting the mood for me for real. He was like, oh, okay, well, then why didn't you say anything? Like, let me know. I'm down if you down. And she's like, well, if you tell me you love me, then I'll sleep with you. And this is where I be saying this stuff is ugly to me, because I'm just like, girl, I guess for her, that's what she needs. But it's just like, again, this is why I didn't like Kiyosei being like, oh, he's in love with you. Because it's just like, love is a big ass word, y'all. And he's like, wait, is that all you want, just for me to say those words? And she's like, I've never had anybody say them to me since I was born. Like, I just want to hear someone say it, please. Like, can you just do it for me? And he was like, Japanese guys don't like stuff like that. I was like, oh my God. Like, I swear this whole thing was cringy as hell. I was like, please don't sleep with him. Please don't sleep with her. Like, please. Like, I'm going to just say right now, if I have any male viewers or listeners, if you are about to sleep with a girl, even if y'all are friends, this, that, and the third, she's talking about, okay, well, tell me you love me and then I'll sleep with you. And even if you have a crush on her and you like her, because obviously if he was in love with her, it wouldn't be a problem for him to say it, right? But the fact that he's like, look, we don't like that. Like, I don't want to say this shit. But if she's asking you to say this for her to sleep with you, don't do it. Don't do it. Tell her, hey, I think you need to go get therapy. After this, she may feel very embarrassed, and you guys may not be on that level no more. But I'm gonna just tell you now, you're gonna save y'all a lot of time if you do not do that, because obviously she has some wounds that she need to heal. You do not want to be mixing up that word. You should only be saying that word if you really mean it, or at least you think you really mean it at the time. Okay, even if you're young and dumb and you really feel like you in love with that person, okay, that or whatever, you say it. But do not be saying that shit, and then later on they can be like, but you said you loved me. You're gonna be like, well, you told me to. I was just trying to get the kitty cat. At that point, you already knew you was messing up by saying something that you didn't mean in the first place. And he's like, fine then. He's like, I understand. But he's just like, I'm a man. Why can't I say it? I just, I'll just think of myself as an American. And I'm like, damn. They just like, Americans, they just suck, huh? Like, they just like, we just suck. Y'all can just lie on a whim. He said, my name will be Michael. I'm done. I'm not finna play with Shoji at all. And she talking about, I won't sleep with you if you pretend to be some foreigner. And, she was like, I don't want anybody but Shoji. I'm like, oh God, you shouldn't be sleeping with him anyway if you gotta have him tell you that he love you. Cause this supposed to be casual, okay? What are we doing at this point? You should only want somebody to tell you that they love you if they genuinely love you. He already told you earlier the other day that men can do stuff without having feelings and being in love. So why are you now gonna have him tell you that he loved you? Because you obviously they both want to have sex with each other, but you're like, my whole thing is that I want you to tell me that you love me. He already told you how men work and that they can do stuff without being in love, and you obviously see he has to try to role play for him to be able to do this. Why would you want him to do that? Like, come on now. Like, at that point, maybe you should just wait. At that point, maybe you should just have a relationship with him until maybe he feel like he love you. I don't know. But then that's when, instead of saying it, because, and this is what I'm saying, y'all, again, how is Shoji super manipulating and predatory if even then when she's asking him to tell her that he loves her, he did not do it. Instead, he hugged her, right? He caressed her. He kissed her forehead. He did, head to head, forehead to forehead, right? And then that's when things escalated. And she starts crying. He's like, Nana, you okay? She was like, Shoji, you're telling me right now, right? From your heart. You told me you love me. And he's just like he's looking like, I guess. Like, oh, I guess I'm going to get some booty, but I guess. This is why this scene is so ugly to me, because it's just kind of like, this man still ain't tell you he love you because he didn't love you. And you really shouldn't be asking for him to tell you that. If you want to have sex, just say that. Like, just say that. Which he did, but it's just like saying, well, I'll let you have sex with me if you tell me you love me. No. How about we just keep it casual, casual? You want the peen ween and I want the kitty cat? Cool. But let's not throw those words around. And you see, he did not feel comfortable throwing that word around to where he did not throw that word around. Instead, he was, I'm just going to try to do something else. I can't lie like that. And again, showing that he's not a manipulator. He's not going to just say and do anything for the kitty cat. He sees that it's consensual. She wants to do it. But he's just like, I'm not going to jeopardize my integrity in that way right now because I want the booty. Like, we just going to have to, you want me just as bad as I want you. I'm just going to do this instead. This is why I never got the take that Shoji was super manipulating, because it's just like, we see time and time again, he doesn't manipulate her. But I do want to point out this part. When they were talking about, her moving out to Tokyo, right? She was like, then how about I stay and I find work in my local area and save up money to come live in Tokyo. And she says, so when Shoji gets into a university next year, I will come to Tokyo too. She says, I will be fine on my own when I come to Tokyo as well. I can find a job and work hard too. Okay, so let's put a pin in that and remember that she's saying, I'm gonna save up here, I'm gonna stay here while you out there, and when you get accepted and I come out there, I'm gonna be fine on my own. Okay, I'm going to work hard and find a job, but she's saying I'm gonna be fine on my own. So already they're agreeing to, okay, you are gonna come out there, I'm gonna get into that university. You come out there and live on your own, because you're saying you'll be fine on your own and you're going to work and find a job. That was the agreement. And so we need to remember, as soon as he texts her that he got into the university, he passed his course or he passed the test, she quits her job immediately. And this is what I'm talking about. Really, Nana K shouldn't have even been out in Tokyo. Because all he says is, yours truly has successfully been accepted into an art university. Call me when you finish work. Okay? And so we see, Junko and Kyosuke are celebrating out with Shoji, congratulating him. And at this point, when he, Nana K calls him, and she's supposed to be calling him after work, she's already on her way out there. This is what I'm talking about. She should have never been out there because there was no communication. And this is the thing. People get mad and they be like, oh, he wasn't even happy that she was out there, this, that, and the third. We don't see him not being necessarily happy. We do see him being shocked. Okay? But also they're like, yeah, he couldn't wait to get her out on her own and this, that, and the third. We have to remember, they had no plan. There was no plan. Like a year ago, right? A year ago, when they first hooked up, they said a outline of a plan of like, okay, I'm going to get into the school. She said that she will be completely fine on her own and she will get a job and work hard. This is the first part of that plan, right? Okay, I got into university. Cool. Right? What happened to everything else? What happened to just call me when you get off of work so that we can at least maybe start game planning? Maybe. Instead, you're already on a train? What is going on? No communication. And this is why I say this was her excuse to get her ass out to Tokyo. Because literally, like, yes, her feelings for him and his feelings for her were real. They had feelings, but the way how she went out there that motherfucking fast, honey, she was like, got him. I fucking got him. Because it didn't make sense. Shoji was showing in that other conversation. It did not make sense for you to just be trying to move out there for your friends. It's just not a good plan. Like, it's just don't make no damn sense. She didn't get accepted to any of the schools that she applied for. Stay your ass at home. But the fact that now they have this relationship, and even though it's long distance, but the plan is to eventually be in person together, it was just everything that she wanted. She wasted no time. Without a damn plan? You didn't even let this man know, like, what the hell? That's why I'm sorry, I can't get mad at Shoji for being taken aback by when she was just like, oh, I'm already on the train. Like, what? Huh? People get mad and try to crucify him for that. No. Now, mind you, what I will say, is if they were truly in love, somebody could argue that maybe he wouldn't have been so as upset when, she came and she was cleaning up and instead of like looking for a job all day, all that kind of stuff. But even so, because some people could argue that, oh, well, if a man was truly in love, right, he would try to, he wouldn't be so upset with you being in his space, and he would have, tried to make something work, and maybe they could live together while she gets a job, yada, yada, yada. Somebody could argue that, because for somebody that's true. But again, I'm looking at Shoji and Nana K. And sometimes when we analyze characters, people like to add their own personal experiences and, self-insert a little bit too much. We have to look at Nana K and Shoji. We saw the dynamic that they had before they even dated. We see the dynamic that she has with everybody around her. We see how she operates. We see how she thinks. Okay? And we see that the agreement that they did make and the things that she did say that she was going to do when she got out there. She said that she was going to be fine on her own and that she was going to work hard and get a job. That sound cool. That's like, okay, cool. Like, then you can live in your place, I can live in mine. We just be out there in Tokyo. Right? And a year has gone by this point. So he's probably like, okay, cool. She's working. She's probably saving up money. She, this, that, and the third. Cool. Everything gonna work out. But again, that still takes planning. This is a big life decision. And now, by you doing this, by Nana K just jumping on a train and being out there, he's already letting you know, like, before, this is a year before, I'm telling you I don't got no money like that. And now I'm a struggling college student. And I'm a busboy. Or I'm a waiter. Like, I still don't got money like that. I got it just enough to, survive my damn self. And now I have a whole nother head to feed. Now, mind you, yes, it's nice that you cook and clean and this, that, and the third. That's great. But that was not the plan. And now now he's automatically put into this role of like stressing out and having to be like, kind of like, in a sense, take care of this person, because this is also a person that doesn't make the best decisions. And now he does have to like care for her in this way. And it's like, you're not listening. What happened to the plan? You're acting like how you was acting like a year ago when I had to get on you that first time. And is it, valid for Nana K to feel like, damn, like, I mean, a thank you would have sufficed. Like, I did stay here, and I did clean and cook and try to make, this apartment a home. Yeah. And I could agree. Yeah. It would have been nice to be like, well, thank you. This was very nice. Because even after when he did eat and everything like that, and they, kind of got into it, he was low-key like, damn, this bathroom is clean. Like, you could have said thank you, and then also been like, hey girl, but you did say that you was going, you said you was going to be fine on your own and do your own thing, and we was just going, kind of like be our own individuals and be out here together and date each other, instead of like immediately trying to cohabitate. And I do not have it for that. And on top of that, I didn't agree to that. That's not what we agreed to. So for this episode, we're going to stop here because I can keep on going. I can keep on going, child. But I want to stop here, and the next time we talk about Shoji and Nana K, we're going to talk about their relationship while they were in Tokyo. So I wanted to point out, a few things of the fact that, for one, Shoji ain't never threatened to, grape Nana K, for one. For two, I wanted to point out the dynamic that they had, even before, she moved out to Tokyo, and show that he was never giving manipulative. Like, it was never giving, oh, Nana K was just getting manipulated the whole time. At that point, people who say that remind me of Nobu. Y'all remind me of Nobu at that point, who think that. Because again, and not saying that Nana K has never been manipulated before, but I'm just saying that Nobu thinks like that. Nobu has a savior complex. A lot of people put Nana K on a pedestal thinking that she can do no wrong. And it's funny because when the people who think that way, Nana K she wouldn't even feel comfortable around y'all. At least post pre-time skip Nana K, she deep down wouldn't even feel comfortable with y'all, because she'll be like, "Oh, I can't let them down because they think my shit doesn't stink, and they think that I'm just this innocent angel, so now I have to keep up this facade because they think I could do no wrong, and really they don't know the real me." Yeah. That's how she would be talking about people like that. That's the funny part. She wouldn't even feel comfortable with y'all. Like all these Nana K stands or Nana K, apologists that can never really hold her accountable, she wouldn't even feel comfortable with you. That's the crazy part. But for people who, instead, because some people are just Nana K haters, that's what I will say. They just absolutely hate her guts. They don't see no nuance in her character. They don't see how complex her character is, and that's unfortunate because she's a very Nana K and Takumi, I think, are the most fun for me to analyze because they're like literally the most controversial characters in the show, but also they're so complex. Like they're so complex, and they're literally on either side of the spectrum. One of them, the fandom thinks is a complete angel and can do no wrong, and puts her up on a pedestal and has a savior complex with Nana K. The fandom has like this savior complex with Nana K, just like Nobu. And then the other, everybody thinks is like the complete double spawn. They think he has no nuance either, and they think he's just literally the devil, quite literally. And they think that he has no complexity, when that's literally just not how Ayazawa works. Like that's just not how she writes. She writes complexity in every single character. So they're just so interesting to analyze for me. But anyway, so yeah, some people just absolutely hate her guts, which is unfortunate because it's a very simplistic take on her character. But others, they also think that she can do no wrong, which is also a very simplistic take on her character.